Okay, welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Dr. Lopkin, once again, pretty interesting week. Let's start off with the jobs number. I mean, I've been around for a while. I thought the Reagan economy was amazing. I participated in it, got out of college during that period of time. The Clinton economy was totally amazing. In fact, I saw a show or a little news excerpt about a jobs fair in Connecticut. This is during the Clinton economy, and the gentleman who was narrating it says, "And now from the jobs fair, leaving the jobs fair, this is Bob Johnson," and basically said, talking about one of the experts, he says, "If you don't have a job in Connecticut, you better check the spelling on your resume." I still remember that. And now, after Obama, so you had amazing economy with Reagan, then a little bit of really not a bad economy, but not stellar under George H. Then Clinton nailed it, and then Obama or George W. was still good until the end, and then Obama really probably the worst economy in my lifetime. And then,
there's no doubt that the economy at the end of George Bush and through the Obama administration was the worst people have seen since the Great Depression.
Ever. So this is the best economy I think I've ever seen. Do you agree or not? That's the first point.
It really is. The speed that the economy is moving forward is amazing. It's no longer being propped up. One of the things, a lot of people say, oh, well, this started under Obama. It really didn't, because the economy under Obama was really being propped up by low interest rates and by quantitative easing by the Fed, which
no question. Plus,
which no matter what Trump wants to say, the Fed is completely independent.
Yeah, but no, also it was propped up with 1%. I mean, it wasn't like you had 4% growth. I mean, it was propped up. You didn't have negative growth, but you certainly didn't have a robust economy. If you were looking for a job 3 years ago and you were 50, you're going to have a long search.
3 years ago, you had a long search. 5 years ago, you were out of luck completely.
You're finished. Good luck. I'm sorry. It's tragic, but that's how it is. And how would you summarize it right now, that same 50-year-old?
Now it's amazing. If you want a job, you can get a job as long as you've got skills. There are more jobs than there are people looking. And
then what is the Go ahead.
And wages are going up at the fastest rate in over 10 years.
Which means supply and demand, that companies are actually scrambling for workers.
It means they're scrambling for workers, but it also means that all of these people yelling that, oh, the economy's good for the rich, but not for Main Street, are completely off base, because Main Street is getting raises.
Isn't that getting a little old, Dr. Lopkin?
It really is.
Diatribe from the Democratic Party. They're the party of the rich and the elite, the Wall Street, the multinationals. It's not Trump. Trump's more for middle America, I would have to say.
Now, right now, we've got a broad-based economy that's growing on all cylinders, and it's growing at a rate that even as recently as the 2016 election, the Democrats said was impossible.
Oh, yeah, 1.5 was a new reality.
That's it. They said this was never going to happen. Manufacturing jobs were never going to come back.
But they're supposed to be. No, wait a second. I got it. They're supposed to be the best and the brightest, right? Why are they always wrong? The intelligentsia. They were wrong about Vietnam. They're wrong about this.
There's an old saying. In theory and practice are the same. In practice, they aren't. Democrats are great at theory. But when the rubber hits the road, those theories don't pan out.
True. Very interesting. So do you think it has legs for the midterm? I think it has some legs. I don't know the extent.
It has some legs. You're seeing certainly older Democrats go, well, wait a minute, this is benefiting me. And I've seen online something very surprising. You're seeing a lot more younger Democrats go, wait a minute. – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – –– – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – And they're coming out
if
and
you're
saying,
a younger Democrat, you thought the new reality was living in your parents' basement. I mean, that was let's really get real. That was a reality under Obama. That was a real reality. Was it not?
Yes, it was.
For many college graduates.
College graduates who came out during the Obama administration, many of them went right back to school because there were no jobs for them. Now they have jobs, they have good jobs, and they're realizing, wait a minute, all of this rhetoric that the Democratic Party has been putting out just doesn't ring true. Now, unfortunately, you also still have a radical left movement that the Democratic Party officials themselves don't know what to do with, that's pulling it towards socialism.
Mm-hmm. So as more people get jobs, I believe, here's to conclude on this, I believe that, yes, there'll be a radical element. Millennials are like a lost generation. They grew up under Obama. They'll be, really down on the whole socialist thing. But I think younger people, as you alluded to on the show, and older people, I think, are going to be saying this doesn't work. Speaking of not working, so I think, do we agree that it will have some impact on the midterms? Do you see a blue wave at this point?
It will have some impact. I don't see a blue wave. And actually, I'm seeing more and more former Democrats calling for a red wave.
Why is that?
Because they're saying that the entire Democratic platform is based on political correctness and stifling people's opinions, and not about actually building opportunity and building the economy and helping the country.
You have actually heard that?
I have seen, you can go online. I've seen videos on YouTube, on Facebook. I was absolutely shocked to see them.
Interesting. I wouldn't think I'd ever see something like that. Okay, next area of business is the whole hearings, the Supreme Court hearings. Mike Huckabee tweeted that the Republicans should buy the Democrats give them a bouquet, for lack of a better word, because it shows the average person how crazy that party's become. From a completely mainstream nominee, by the way.
They wasted the entire first day trying to halt the proceedings without ever considering
anything. Richard Blumenthal, our own senator, and Kamala Harris did that, yes.
And it's absolutely hysterical. They're yelling, oh, we don't have all the documents to consider. And yet the same people who were yelling about this stated several months ago they're not going to vote to approve a Trump appointee, no matter who it is.
Yes, so, and let's face it, he is going to be approved.
Yes. At this point, senators on both sides of the aisles have said he handled himself beautifully. He is definitely a qualified candidate. He's going to pass through the committee, and they expect him to sail through the approval process with no problem.
Okay, any blowback for like Kamala Harris and the senator from New Jersey that escapes me? Both obviously in their hats are not officially, but their minds at least are in the presidential race. Any blowback from them to them?
I don't know if there'll be blowback. I don't know if enough people are paying attention to the hearings for it to really affect the general election. But I mean, the two of them, Richard Blumenthal, Dianne Feinstein, they all came off looking really stupid.
I agree. What was the last item that you'd like to address on the agenda?
The last thing I think we should touch base on is the New York Times editorial, the anonymous editorial that allegedly came from inside the Trump White House. And I thought it was brilliant. The former New York Times editor that ran the editorial page, after this came out, tweeted, "It is a great day to not be in charge of the New York Times editorial."
Well, let's face it, the media has been completely corrupted. I mean, and it's sad because, okay, they've always been left-leaning, but now it's gone off the rails, hasn't it?
The irresponsibility of printing this is tremendous. And what really got me was when the New York Times themselves stated that they went through an intermediary dealing with whoever wrote this. They did not deal with the source directly.
That's
now,
pretty shabby. They used to be the purveyor of due diligence.
I was a reporter. I was a reporter for a long time. I used anonymous sources. You verified them personally. And that's another thing. If it is true that there's a group of people within the White House trying to rein in Donald Trump, that's not an editorial. That would be a piece of news. And the fact that they could not verify its truth enough to run it as an article really casts a lot of doubt on the story.
Very good. Well, Dr. Lopkin, good edition of Carnivore Bites. We'll do it again.
You've been listening to Carnivore Radio's podcast. You can catch us here every week. Carnivore Radio is part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can listen to the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/Xvadio. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can listen to us live every Friday at 4 o'clock on WESU 88.1 Middletown, Connecticut. You can also catch us online at WESUFM.org. We look forward to hearing from you and see you next week.